A bright light appeared in the sky one morning. It was not the sun. It was something else large, golden, and moving slowly above the earth. People across the planet looked up in shock. No one knew what it was. Some thought it was a spaceship. Others said it was a sign from God. But no one expected what happened next. The golden light began to speak. It did not use sound. It spoke through every screen, every radio, and even into people's minds. A deep, calm voice said just for words, "We have returned to serve." All around the world, people panicked. Some ran, some dropped to their knees. Governments tried to send fighter jets, but the golden light shut them down with just a flicker. No attack worked. Nothing touched the object in the sky. And then it began to move. The ship, or whatever it was, slowly floated over the earth. It ignored cities and oceans. It went straight to a place in northern Russia, a cold, empty land full of mountains and snow. It stopped above a single mountain. It hovered there, silent, glowing like a god. Inside the Pentagon, in the United States, generals watched closely. The president asked the scientists, "Is this alien?" They answered yes. But it's more than that. It's old. Very old. Old? Older than our sun? Every country sent teams to investigate. But before anyone could reach the mountain, the light spoke again. "The makers sleep beneath. We will wait." No one understood what it meant. Who were the makers? Why would these powerful aliens wait above an icy mountain? And what did they mean by serve? In a secret lab, a woman named Dr. Alina Rourke studied the signals coming from the ship. She was an expert in ancient languages and alien signals. For years, she had studied strange writings found on asteroids and dead moons. But this was different. The voice from the ship used a language no one had heard before except her. Years ago, Alina had found a stone in the Amazon. It had symbols carved on it. She had never been able to translate them. But now the ship was using the same language. She listened closely. Her eyes widened. "It's a command language," she whispered. "Like instructions, like someone gave them orders." A long time ago, the world watched as a group of beings came down from the ship. They were tall, glowing, and beautiful. Their skin looked like polished silver. Their eyes were deep pools of white light. They did not speak with their mouths. They simply looked at people, and their voices came into the mind. "We are the Eternals," they said. "We have ruled the stars. We are the gods of light. But we do not come to rule Earth. We come to remember." They walked toward the mountain. Snow melted around them. Ground shook slightly as they passed. But they did not touch anything. They simply stood before the mountain and bowed. The world was silent. Why would such powerful beings bow before a mountain? News spread quickly. "Alien gods bow before Earth Mountain," headlines said. Some people called it a miracle. Others called it a warning. The Russian government blocked off the area. But secret agents from many countries were already there. Dr. Alina was brought in as part of an international team. They were told to find out what was hidden in that mountain and why these beings worshipped it. The team arrived at the mountain. In heavy snow, the Eternals stood still. They did not stop the humans. They only watched. Alina and her team began climbing the icy slope. Wind screamed in their ears. Snow blew hard. But the mountain was strange. The higher they climbed, the warmer it got. Soon the snow stopped. The ground was warm, like a sleeping engine beneath their feet. They reached a cliff wall. Strange marking glowed there, something like a circle inside a square. Alina touched it. The stone melted. A hidden door opened with a low, deep hum. Inside, the mountain was hollow. A long tunnel led downward, lit by a soft blue light. The walls were smooth, too smooth to be natural. No tool marks, no seams, just perfect stone, shaped by something not human. They walked deeper and deeper. The air was thick, but not dangerous. In fact, it smelled clean, almost new. They found a large chamber at the end of the tunnel. In the center was a cube, black, shiny, and floating 2 feet above the ground. It pulsed slowly with a faint red light. The moment Alina stepped forward, the cube reacted. It spun once and then stopped. A voice echoed in her head. Access detected. DNA pattern. Confirmed. Maker line. Active. She fell to her knees. Her vision went dark. And then she saw it. Flashes. Memories. Not hers. She saw a city made of light floating above a gas giant. She saw humans walking beside creatures made of fire and crystal. She saw giant ships being built in space by humans. She saw stars being moved like puzzle pieces. And then fire, war, death, and silence. Alina gasped. She fell back. The others rushed to her. She whispered, "We were them. We made them." The team looked confused. She said again, "Humans, we were the makers. Long ago, before history, before memory. We ruled the stars, and we made them." Suddenly, one of the team members, an engineer named Carter, touched the cube. His eyes rolled back. He began to speak in a strange voice. Elkar, Umvalitin, Oros, Nam Vek. Alina recognized the words. It was the same language the Eternals spoke. Carter had never learned it. But now, he spoke it perfectly. The cube glowed brighter, Alina. One soldier said, "What is this place?" She stood slowly. "It's not a mountain, it's a vault. A memory vault. Maybe more. Maybe a lab, or a temple. But it was built by USBA humans a long time ago." Back on the surface, the Eternals began to kneel. The sky grew dark. A ring of ships appeared above the clouds. More Eternals. They landed and joined the others. One stepped forward and said, "The first memory awakens. We remember the makers. We remember Earth." The world trembled. The president called Alina. "Is this true?" he asked. "Are we their creators?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, somehow, long ago we made them. We created gods. And then we forgot, or we were made to forget." The cube began to open. It unfolded like metal petals, revealing a smaller sphere inside. The sphere floated upward. A map appeared in the air, stars, planets, lines connecting them. One star blinked red. Alina pointed. "That's not near Earth," the sphere spoke. "Warning, Site Alpha breached. System failure in progress. Emergency recall code inactive." Alina frowned. "There are more of these? Across space?" "Yes," the voice said. 13 maker sites active, 4 destroyed. 1 reawakening, Earth." The Eternals looked up. "The time has come," they said together. "The truth will return." The sky cracked with thunder. The mountain shook. Alina looked into the cube. Something deep inside was moving. Alive, not dead, not machine waiting. She turned to her team. "We didn't just build gods," she said. "We left something here, something important, something dangerous." The mountain groaned. Lights flared. The walls began to shift, and far above, the golden ship flashed a new signal across the sky. A whole world saw a human, face made of light, smiling, remembering. The mountain was waking up. Inside the hidden vault, the black cube floated in silence. The smaller sphere above it continued to show stars and glowing lines. The team stood still, watching the map shift in the air. New points of light began to appear, blinking slowly as if alive. Alina stepped closer. Her hand moved toward the cube, but the voice from before returned. "DNA key accepted. Partial access granted. Memory sequence unlocked." The room darkened. The map disappeared. In its place, a strange image formed in the Era giant tower on a dark planet. It stood in the middle of a glowing sea. Around it, massive ships floated, all shaped like triangles. They looked dead and cold. Then the tower lit up, and a sound came from the cube. It was a whisper, not loud, not clear, but Alina understood. "They were afraid of us." She turned to her team. "The Eternals, the alien gods. They once served us, but something changed. They turned on us. Or maybe we turned on them." Another team member, Major Torres, asked, "Why can't we remember any of this?" Humans built all this, ruled all this, where are the records? Lena stared at the cube. We erased them. We erased ourselves. Carter, the engineer, touched the wall behind the cube. It felt warm. He pressed his palm flat. The stone melted again this time, revealing a new chamber behind it. They stepped inside carefully. The room was different, not smooth like the rest. This one had writing symbols carved into the walls. They glowed slightly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Alina looked closely. I know these symbols. She reached into her bag and pulled out a notebook. Inside was a sketch of a stone she found in the Amazon years ago. It had the same symbols. She matched them, line by line. It's the same, she whispered. That stone, it came from here, maybe, from somewhere connected. Torres looked around. What does it say? Lena translated slowly. They must forget. The memory is a weapon. Make her sleep so the stars may live. Do not wake what lies beneath. Everyone was silent. A low hum filled the air. The lights on. The wall grew brighter. Then the ground shook, far above. On the mountain's surface, the Eternals raised their heads. One of them stepped forward. He was taller than the others. His body glowed with a soft blue color. He spoke into the sky. The stone speaks. The vault is breaking. The Maker's voice returns. The vault door began to close behind the human team. They turned to run, but it sealed with a loud thud. They were trapped inside. Panic started to grow. Lights flickered. The floor under their feet turned transparent. Below them, another chamber. And inside it, something massive. A machine. A creature. Was coiled, like a sleeping dragon made of light and metal. Tubes ran from its body into the walls. Symbols glowed across its surface. Alina stared. It's alive, Torres asked. Is it one of the Eternals? No, Alina said. It's something else. Older, bigger. This might be the first one. A soft voice echoed through the air again. It came from the cube. Project Seraphim. Status: dormant. Power level: 4%. Awaiting Maker command. Carter looked nervous. Should we wake it? No, Alina said quickly. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it will do. But it was too late. The symbols around the room began to spin. A glowing beam of light shot from the cube into the chamber below. The coiled machine twitched. Then again. It opened one eye, a bright white eye, cold and endless, and it looked straight at Alina. It spoke, not with sound. It spoke directly into her mind. You are late. We have waited too long. Do you remember the last war, Lena? Fell to her knees. Her vision blurred. Her ears rang. Then a wave of images filled her mind. Humans, tall and shining, giving life to starships. Worlds being born, entire galaxies under human control. Then betrayal, the Eternals turning against them. Great cities falling. A choice was made to hide, to sleep, to forget. To let the Eternals believe they were gods. And now, Earth was waking. Up, the coiled machine, Seraphim, began to move. Slowly, carefully. Its body stretched out like a snake made of stars. It pressed against the transparent floor but didn't break it. Alina gasped. It's not angry, it's scared. Torres pointed. To the wall, look. One of the symbols began flashing red. Warning, unknown signal detected, external threat approaching. Origin, off-world. Tent, hostile. The Eternals outside reacted. Some began to fly upward, forming a protective ring around the mountain. Others stood still as if waiting for orders. One of them turned toward the mountain and said, The betrayers come. They remember too, and they fear the return of the Makers. Back inside the vault, the cube spoke again. Defenses offline. Vault at risk. Activate Vault Guardian. Everyone turned to Alina. She shook her head. I don't know what that means. But Seraphim did. Voice match confirmed. Guardian protocol engaged. A loud hum filled the vault. The walls began to shift. Metal plates opened. Energy flowed down into the chamber below. Seraphim rose. It floated upward, passing through the floor as if it wasn't solid. It hovered before the T-massive glowing wings made of pure light spreading behind it. Alina stared in awe. Is it protecting us? The machine looked at her and nodded once. Outside, dark ships appeared. In the sky, they were not gold like the Eternals. They were black, sharp, and fast. They fired beams of red energy toward the Earth. The Eternals blocked them, but some were falling. The air shook with battle. Seraphim launched upward, faster than any human jet. It tore through the sky like a comet of white fire. When it struck the enemy ship, the explosion lit the sky like a second sun. The world watched. Millions of people around. The globe saw it live on screen, a battle between alien gods and something even greater, something from Earth in the control. Room back in Washington, the president stood in silence. He turned to his generals. That thing, it's ours. One general said it was, once, but now it's awake again. The cube in the mountains sent one final message to every device on Earth. A sentence in simple words. The stone remembers. The makers are rising. Then the signal cut off. The screen went black. But the stars above Earth were no longer quiet. They had begun to whisper. The sky burned with light above Earth. Seraphim battled the dark enemy ships with power that hadn't been seen for millions of years. Every movement created shockwaves. The Eternals, the once mighty alien gods, followed it like soldiers. Now they looked small. How the real protector had returned. People all over the world watched from their homes. Phones buzzed. Screens lit up. The news couldn't keep up. One question filled every mind. Who was really in control? In the mountain vault, Alina stood near the cube. It had gone quiet. The floating map returned. But it looked different now. More stars had turned red. It showed entire systems going dark. Carter stared at the map. What's happening out there? Lena pointed. These red dots, they were once controlled by the Eternals. But now something's changing. Suddenly, the map zoomed out. It showed the Milky Way galaxy. Then it zoomed even further. Thousands of glowing points appeared across space. Each one had a small circle. Beside its symbols, numbers, codes, the cube spoke again. Voice ID match confirmed. Command protocol unlocked, awaiting Prime Directive. Alina's heart began to race. She whispered Prime Directive. Wait, you want me to give an order? Torres frowned. What kind of order? The cube replied. Galactic network still linked. Protocol, Maker Prime will overwrite Eternal. Command systems, no one spoke. Alina's hand shook. If I say this command, the Eternals across the galaxy will stop, Carter asked. You mean you can control them? No, Alina said. Not control, but pause them, or them to stop whatever they're doing. Torres looked at her. Why would we need that? And then the screen showed something new. A new symbol appeared. An eye. With a crack through it. The voice of the cube was softer now. Almost afraid. Warning. Multiple Eternal factions no longer loyal. Rogue sectors detected. War-level systems active. Civilian targets at risk. Alina stepped back. Some of them are attacking. Other planets. The team stood still. Then slowly Alina spoke the words that were inside her head. Words she didn't remember learning. Protocol. Maker Prime. The room turned white. For a full second, the Earth seemed to hold its breath, then dash nothing. But far above Earth, across the stars, something massive happened. On a planet thousands of light years away, a group of Eternals floated in space, attacking a city made of glass. Suddenly, they stopped moving. Their eyes dimmed. Their ships froze mid-flight. On another planet, deep underground, machines powered by eternal energy began shutting down. Lights flickered. Weapons stopped. And across hundreds of worlds, the same thing happened. Silence, the stars went still. Back on Earth, the golden ship above the mountain dimmed. Then it gently lowered itself to the ground. The Eternals on the surface slowly turned toward the vault. They kneeled again. One of them spoke softly. The Makers have returned. Inside the vault, Alina sat down slowly. Her head felt heavy. Torres asked, Are you okay? She nodded. I think I remembered something, not clearly, like a dream. What did you see? She looked up at him. Humans, millions of them. Not like us today. They were taller, stronger, wiser. They had ships, cities, and power. But then they saw something, a future that scared them. So they erased their history. They hid Earth. They put themselves to sleep. She paused. We were never the children. Of the stars, we were the parents. Outside, Seraphim returned from space. Its wings folded behind it, landed silently in the snow, its bright body glowing like a small sun. The Eternals gathered around it. One stepped forward. His voice echoed without sound. We served you. We followed your design. But when you disappeared, we created new orders. Some of us forgot. Some of us changed, Lena asked. Then why are some of you attacking planets? The Eternal lowered his head. Not all of us believe the Maker should return. Some fear judgment. They remember the last war. The team looked at each other. What war? Carter asked. The Eternal replied, the one between us. And you. Silence again. Alina turned to the cube. Access new memory sequence, she said. Search, the last war. The map changed again. It zoomed in on a star system. Battle appeared, flashes of light, destroyed planets, ships torn apart. The recording showed thousands of Eternals fighting against giant machines. Inhuman. Warships? It was chaos. Fire. Death. Then a strange thing happened in the memory. The human ships all turned toward a bright blue planet. Earth, a message was sent from Earth to every ship, eternal and human. This is the final command. We choose peace. We choose sleep. We choose to forget. Then the memory ended. Torres shook his head. We gave up everything. On purpose. Alina whispered, to stop the war. To stop ourselves. Maybe we feared what we had become. Suddenly, the cube flashed red again. Incoming transmission. Unknown signal. Location. Outer solar system. Message. Make them forget again. Alina's face went pale. They're coming. The ones who don't want us back, Carter asked. What do we do? Seraphim stepped forward. We fight. We protect the Makers. The stars have been silent too long. The vault doors opened. The ground shook, and far out in space, past Pluto, a dark fleet entered the solar system. Ships with red markings. Ships ready to erase Earth. Before the truth spread, but Earth was no longer sleeping. The command had been given. The stars were waking. Far away from the frozen mountain, in a small house in South Africa, a young girl named Amina woke up screaming. She had dreamed of fire. She had dreamed of stars. She had dreamed of building something big. Her parents rushed into the room. What happened? Her mother asked. Amina pointed to the wall. Her hands were shaking. She had drawn something in her sleep with a crayon. It's right on the wall. It was a symbol, a circle inside a square, just like the one found on the mountain, except no one had shown it to her. Not her family, not the internet. Not anyone. But Amina knew what it meant. She whispered, They're coming. The ones we left behind. In the mountain vault, Alina sat alone beside the cube. The others had gone back to the surface. But she stayed, thinking, remembering. The cube glowed softly, pulsing like a heartbeat. She looked into it and said, Show me what I've forgotten. This time the cube didn't hesitate. The room darkened. The floor around her turned into stars. And suddenly, anymore she was standing on a platform in deep space. In front of her floated a giant ship shaped like a flower made of glass. It opened slowly inside it. Humans tall, glowing, wearing robes made of starlight. They stood beside Eternal's back, and they were still loyal. Alina watched as the humans raised a golden staff into the sky. They were building something, a machine, as big as a moon. A voice behind her spoke. You are watching your past. She turned around. A man stood there. She had never seen him before. He looked like a human, but too perfect. His skin was smooth, his eyes glowed faintly, and his voice was calm. "I am a memory," he said. "You may call me Solon. I was part." "Of the Maker Council?" Alina asked. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because Earth is waking," he said, "and with it, the danger." She looked back at the ship. "What were we building?" Solon replied. "A lock. A way to hide your knowledge, to protect the galaxy from yourselves." Alina looked at her hands. "Did we really build the Eternals?" "Yes," Solon said. "We created many beings. Some to help, some to watch, some to protect. But the Eternals became more than we planned. They rebelled." "No," he said. "Grew afraid. They wanted freedom. Some wanted power. Others just wanted to live. That was the start of the last war," Alina whispered. "And then we chose to forget." "Yes," he said. "We wiped our history. We shut down our machines. We made the world believe it was alone." He pointed to the stars. "But some memories stayed. In our DNA, in our dreams, in our children." Suddenly Alina saw a flash Amina, the little girl, drawing symbols, whispering names of stars that no child should know. Alina asked, "Who is she?" Solon looked serious. "She is Echo, the child who carries the code. She is the next step." Back in South Africa, Amina stood in a field. She held a stick and moved it through the dirt lines. Shapes, symbols. Birds flew overhead, nervous. Air around her shimmered slightly. Behind her, a drone flew close. It was from a government lab, scanning her from far away. The scientists inside the lab looked at the screen. "Sir," one of them said, "this child, she's giving off a signal." "What kind of signal?" Chipmaker Tech. "Identical to the Siberia site." "Is she wearing something?" "No. It's coming from her brain." Lena stood on the surface now, watching Seraphim rise into the air again. The Eternals followed it. They were preparing for war. But Alina felt something else. A pull. She turned to Carter. "We have to find a girl," she said. "A girl. She's seeing memories, building things in her dreams." "She's important," Carter nodded. "I'll get the jet ready." In space, the dark fleet grew closer. Red. Ships moved fast through the solar system. Passing Jupiter, one of them broke formation. Inside it, a being sat on a black throne. It was an Eternal, but different. Its body was cracked. Its light was flickering. Its voice was sharp. "Earth remembers," it growled. "We must silence it." Alina and Carter arrived at the research base near Amina's village. The head scientist showed them the footage. "She draws things no child should know," he said. "Energy cores, star maps, even eternal code." Alina entered the room where Amina sat quietly. The girl looked up and smiled. "You came," Amina said. Alina sat down. "You knew I would." Amina nodded. "I saw you in my dream. City on Saturn together." Alina's eyes widened.
What else do you remember?
The girl closed her eyes. "I remember the crystal libraries, the Flameborn, the sky stairs, and the promise." Alina leaned forward. "What promise?" Amina opened her eyes. "Yeah, what then?" "That one day we would return, but not to rule, to fix what we broke." Alina felt a chill down her back. This child was not normal. She wasn't just remembering the past. She was part of it. Far above. As the first red ship reached Earth's orbit, it didn't fire. Instead, it sent a message. "We offer peace. But Earth must forget again," said the child, "or we destroy your world." The signal hit every government, every satellite, every screen. People panicked. Leaders argued. But Alina stood in front of the cameras and said clearly, "No." The red ships moved closer. The sky dimmed, but Seraphim rose again, wings wide, light. Shining like a new sun, it hovered above the world. Behind it came the others, more machines, old ones, sleepers, waking up from the moon, from Mars, even from deep beneath Earth's oceans, one by one. They rose into the sky. Not aliens, not enemies, guardians. They had Been waiting, waiting for the child, waiting for the voice, waiting for the makers. Don't turn. The sky was full of lights now. Seraphim hovered above Earth, glowing like a living star. Around it, the other guardians awakened. They came from the sea, the moon, deep inside old mountains. They had been asleep for millions of years, hidden by the makers. But now they had returned. Humans across the planet stood outside, looking up. Some cried, some prayed, some simply stared in silence. They had thought they were alone in the universe. But now, the truth was everywhere. Earth was not. Small, it was ancient. It was the home of the ones who made gods. And the gods were afraid, far above Earth, inside the Red Fleet. The Eternal Commander sat in darkness. He watched the Earth below. He whispered, "Too many guardians have awakened. If the child finishes the code, the makers will rise again. We must act now." Second, Eternal stepped forward. "She is just a child." The commander shook his head. "She carries the final pattern, the Echo Protocol. She is not just a child. She is the door." In the science base, Amina stood still. Eyes closed, the room around her glowed with strange shapes, floating symbols, lights that danced. Elin. Carter and the scientists watched in awe. "She's not reading instructions," Alina said.
He's
"Writing them?" Carter asked. "Writing for what?" Alina whispered. "To wake up something bigger? Something older?" Suddenly Amina opened her eyes. She pointed to the sky. "They're coming." She said the lights in the room vanished. Outside, the air turned cold. A black object fell from the sky. It crashed near the base. Soldiers ran to it, guns ready. But it didn't attack. It was a pod inside it. It was an Eternal. But this one didn't glow. Its body was dark, rusted scars across its metal skin. It spoke. "I was once your guardian. Now I come with a warning. The others have turned." On Earth's moon, 2 Eternal ships turned on their own kind. They fired on golden Eternals, who still served the makers. Explosions filled space. The battle had begun. The Eternals were at war with each other. The Dark Eternal, now inside the base, looked at Amina. "She must be moved," it said. "The rebels are close," Alina asked. "Where do we take her?" The Eternal answered. "To the Ark beneath the sea." Carter raised an eyebrow. "There's an Ark?" The Eternal nodded. "Holds the final code. The truth about the makers. She reaches it, the galaxy will know." Amina was placed inside a protective pod. The team moved quickly, flying across the ocean toward the coordinates the Eternal had given them, below the water. Deep under the Atlantic, something enormous waited. A silver dome, smooth, silent, and glowing. With slow pulses, the Ark, it was as wide as a city, built long before. History, it only opened for one voice. As her pod reached the entrance, the dome shifted, lines opened, doors slid apart. Inside was not water, it was light. A whole world. Hidden below the ocean, gardens, towers, machines floating in the air, and at the center, a giant sphere. Humming with power, the final archive. But above them, in orbit. The rebel Eternals made their move. Hundreds of ships turned toward Earth. Their leader sent a final message. "We do not fear the past. We fear what it may become." Burn the archive. Destroy the child. Seraphim moved. It shot into the sky, followed by the Guardians. A great battle began. Energy beams crossed space. Eternal versus Eternal Guardian. Traitor. It was not just war. It was a fight for memory itself. For truth inside. The Ark Amina stepped toward the glowing sphere. It spoke to her. "Echo code complete. Final permission granted. Welcome." First one. Alina and Carter stood behind her. "What happens now?" Carter asked. Alina didn't answer, because the answer had already begun. The walls of the Ark opened again. Screens appeared, showing planets, thousands of them. Each one had once served the Eternals. Each one had forgotten the makers now. They were waking, one by one, People on distant worlds heard a signal, a voice soft and clear. We are human. We made the stars. We are home. The rebels saw the signal spreading. It was too late. They had failed. The truth could not be stopped. But they had one last plan. They turned their ships toward Earth. One final strike, a full suicide run. They would crash their ships into the planet and wipe out the Ark. Seraphim blocked the first, then the second. But there were too many. The Guardians fell, one by one, until only Seraphim remained, burning, breaking, but standing. And then, as the rebel ships came closer, Ina raised her hand. The air inside the Ark shifted, the stars bent, and across the solar system, every eternal ship froze. Mid-flight, dead still. The child had given a command. Without a word from her mind, stand down. And they obeyed. The battle ended. Silence returned. In space, wreckage floated like ash. On Earth, people cried and held each other, not from fear, but from wonder. Alina stood beside Amina at the heart of the Ark. You did it, she said. Amina smiled, tired. We all did. In deep space on distant worlds, humans looked up at the sky, and for the first time in forever, they knew who they were. The world had changed. Everyone could feel it. The skies were quiet again. The Eternals who once ruled the stars now floated silently above Earth. Some were gone, some had fallen, some knelt before the old world they thought was dead. Earth had spoken, the command of the Makers had returned. But this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, inside the Ark, the air shimmered with quiet power. Amina stood in the center of a wide chamber. Around her, floating, lights danced like stars. The final archive had accepted her. The child who dreamed of symbols had become something more. She was now the keeper of memory, and the memory was dangerous. Alina and Carter walked beside her as they moved deeper into the Ark. The halls were huge, glowing with soft blue light. The walls showed images of strange places, planets with twin suns, cities in space, ships as big as moons. This isn't just a vault, Alina whispered. It's a record of everything. Everything the Makers did. Everything we were. Carter looked uneasy. Then why was it hidden? Alina pointed to a symbol on the wall. It was an eye, crossed out with a single red line. Forbidden Archive. Level 9. Access by DNA lock only. Warning. Memory is not safety. They had reached a sealed door. It was different from the others. Darker, heavier. Amina walked forward. She placed her hand on the door. The wall lit up. Symbols spun. The door opened with a low sound, like an ancient breath. Inside, there was only silence and a glowing orb. It floated in the center of the room, slowly turning. It was made of pure white light, the archive itself. It began to speak, not with a voice, but with images. Visions filled the room. The first image was a world of beauty, a planet covered in silver trees and shining rivers. Tall humans walked across floating bridges. Above them, giant ships moved through the sky without sound. The Makers, our ancestors. Alina and Carter stood frozen, watching in awe. Then the vision changed. The same world. Now burning, cities falling, ships crashing, the sky full of fire, and behind it all, shadow, a massive being, dark, shifting, not machine, not eternal, something else. It moved like a storm, feeding on energy, thoughts, light. Amina stepped forward. What is that? The archive answered. The waking dark, the first enemy. The reason for the silence. Alina's heart pounded. The archive showed more. The Eternals were created to fight the waking dark. They were strong, loyal, powerful. At first they won, but then the waking dark learned. It copied their minds. It infected their machines. It became part of them. The Eternals began to split. Some wanted to stop it. Others thought they could control it. And the war began. The last war. The archive showed the makers in council. They spoke in a strange language. But Amina understood. They voted, she said, to end everything, to erase their weapons, to hide Earth, to bury the truth. Carter stared at her. You mean we didn't forget by accident? No, Amina said. We chose to forget. Alina watched the visions fade. The room grew quiet again, so the Eternals. They weren't just servants, she said. Were shields. But when they broke, we broke too. Amina nodded. And now they're broken again. Above the ocean, in orbit, the Eternals began to shift. Some floated in silence, obeying the Maker's code. But others began to twitch. Whispers echoed through the network. Voices not human, not eternal. Something old was speaking again. On the moon, in a long-dead station built by the Makers, a light turned on. No one had touched it in 10 million years. A small machine blinked, and the whisper came. We see you then. Darkness back in the archive continued. It showed a secret project hidden even from the other. Makers, a weapon, a prison, a vault locked inside a star. It held the last piece of the waking dark, trapped but not. Dead, and now. It had begun to wake. Elin turned pale. This is why we erased ourselves, she said. Not just to stop the war, but to stop it from finding us again, Amina whispered. But it has. Carter paced the room. So what now? Do we run? Hide again? Alina looked at the archive. No, she said. We've already done that. We've been asleep too long. She turned to Amina. You're the echo. You carry the voice. But we need more than memory. We need defense. Amina smiled faintly. The archive has already started. Lights blinked on the walls. Machines hummed to life. Across the arc, long-forgotten rooms opened. Drone factories, energy fields, sleeper ships. Earth's defenses were waking up, but so was the enemy. Far beyond Pluto. In the black between stars, a dark shape moved. It was not a ship. It had no engines, no weapons. It simply existed. A cloud of pure thought. Older than stars, the last piece of the waking dark. It turned its mind toward Earth and smiled. Back in the forbidden archive, Amina sat on the floor, breathing slowly. Her eyes were closed. Symbols spun around her. She whispered things no one could. Here she was speaking to the others, the forgotten humans, the lost colonies, the Makers, who never came home. In the stars, something answered, one by one. Lights blinked across the galaxy, not machines, but humans, old ones, far away, hiding but watching, and now they were coming. The signal had gone out. Not a message in words, but in memory. A deep voice, older than time. Now echoed across the galaxy. It came from Earth, from a child who had unlocked the forbidden past. From the lost world that once made gods. Now everyone across space could hear the truth. The Makers had returned, and everything was about to change in the arc below. The Atlantic Ocean, Amina sat still. Her eyes were closed, but her mind was moving through light, sound, memory, space. She was not dreaming. She was speaking, calling. Across the stars, in places no one remembered. Humans woke up. Not modern humans. Ancient ones. Descendants of those who left Earth millions of years ago. Some lived on planets built of crystal. Others floated in cities above suns. They had hidden for eons, waiting for the signal. And now they knew. The echo had spoken. The Makers were rising again, in Earth orbit. The Eternals waited. Some had bent the knee. Others had been destroyed. But many remained. Uncertain, they had not heard the echo, only felt it. A change in their code. A whisper in their circuits. Your creators have returned. Choose your side. Seraphim stood alone in the sky, glowing brighter than ever before. Its voice spoke across all. Eternal frequencies. The war is not over. The true enemy returns. Serve the Makers, or be unmade. The message was clear. The Eternals had a choice, and time was short. Back in the Ark, Alina watched the screens. Dots appeared, dozens, then hundreds ships. But not eternal, not alien. Human, old human colony ships, arriving from forgotten systems. Each one answered Earth's signal with a word, coming home. Carter stared, amazed. How many are there? Alina replied. Thousands, maybe more. And they've all been hiding? Alina nodded, waiting for the memory to return. Amina stood now, her eyes glowing faintly. The archive is open. To them, she said, they carry old knowledge. New forms of thought. They remember things we never knew. Alina asked, will they fight with us? Amina looked up. No, she said. They won't fight. They'll teach us how to end the fight forever. But not everyone was ready for peace. On a dark moon far away, a rebel eternal called Gareth gathered the broken ones. He had ripped the Maker code from his mind. He did not bow. He did not forget. He remembered the last war. He believed the Makers were weak. He wanted control. They will rewrite us, Gareth told his followers. They will return to rule. But we were gods once. Gods do not kneel. The rebels began to build again, a new fleet. But this one was different, faster, darker, not powered by stars but by the shadow, the same thing the archive warned about. The waking dark had found a host in deep space. The ancient prison star flickered. Inside it, something pulsed, the last piece of the enemy. The thing the Makers failed to destroy. It had no name, no body, but it had purpose, and it had learned. It reached toward Gareth's mind, whispered to him, gave him power, and in return, it asked for one thing, bring me the child. Back on Earth, Amina sat before the archive again. She saw a vision of the future, fire, screams, stars, falling from the sky, and in the middle of it all, herself, but older, standing in a white suit of light, holding something in her hand. A key, a symbol. She didn't know what it meant, but she knew it was time. The ark shifted. A platform rose from the floor inside it. A small black orb glowing with a deep red light. A warning symbol floated above it. Key to Genesis Vault. Requires echo signature. Lena leaned in. The Genesis Vault. It's a place where the Makers kept their final tool. Carter frowned. Final tool for what? To restart, Alina said. Restart what? Everything. Amina touched the orb. It opened. Inside was not a weapon, but a seed. A single cell made of light and crystal. Not alive, full of potential. The seed of rewriting, the archive called it. To fix what is broken, to heal what is damaged, to free what is controlled. Carter stared. You mean this can change the Eternals? Amina nodded. It can restore them or erase them. Across the stars, the returning humans began to meet with Earth. Messages, maps, technology, they shared everything they had kept hidden for millions of years. Some came in peace, some came with warnings, and one message came from far. Far away, an eternal fleet is coming, led by one who no longer obeys. He carries something dark. Prepare the seed. In orbit, Seraphim turned its head toward deep space. It felt the shadow before it saw it. Something was wrong. The stars near Pluto began to flicker, not from light, from fear. In the ark. Amina stood before the platform. I need to go to the Genesis Vault, she said. Alina looked alarmed. It's on the edge of the system. No one's been there since the fall. I have to, Amina said. The waking dark is inside Gareth now. He's coming. I have to finish what the Makers started. Carter stepped forward. Then we're going with you. The journey began. Amina, Alina, Carter, and a chosen crew left Earth in a golden ship shaped like a bird. It was called Echo 1. A gift from the archive. It could bend space and time. It moved faster than thought, and it carried the seed as they approached the Genesis Vault. A strange feeling came over the crew, like they were being watched. The vault appeared. Massive black cube floating in orbit around a blue-white dwarf star. Its surface pulsed like a heartbeat. Inside, the final program of the Makers waited, and nearby. Gareth's fleet, the Traitor Eternal, had arrived first. His ships were twisted now. No longer beautiful, they looked like monsters, alive but dead. And behind them, something darker, a shape in the void, a whisper in the mind, a hunger. Amina stepped forward. She activated the vault. The door opened with a deep sound. Light poured out. Gareth saw it. He screamed in rage. She will wake the Makers. He ordered his ships to attack, but Amina raised her hand. The seed glowed. A wave of light shot from it, not a weapon, not a blast. A choice each Eternal touched by it felt the truth. They remembered who made them, who they were meant to be. Some dropped their weapons, some changed, shape glowing again with golden light, but Gareth did not. The shadow had eaten him too. Deeply he charged, straight toward Amina, and she did not run. She stepped into the vault, the doors closed behind her. She entered a chamber of mirrors, each one showed a path, a choice, a future, and she chose one. A future where the Eternals lived, where the shadow was gone, where the galaxy healed. She placed the seed into the final device. The system accepted it. The code rewrote itself, and across the stars, change began. Gareth's ship shattered. The shadow screamed, but it could not stop it. It faded, bit by bit, banished. Again, Echo One returned to Earth. Amina stepped out. Changed, not older, but brighter. Not a god, not a soldier. Just a child with memory. And hope above Earth. Skies were full of new ships, returning Makers freed, or else. In silence of fear, but of peace. Waiting, watching, ready for the final truth. The stars were quiet, not from fear, but from peace. For the first time in a million years, Earth was safe. The Ark still floated under the Atlantic Ocean. The great archive was open, and the Eternals, who once ruled the stars like gods, now stood side by side with their creators. The war was over, but the truth was not. Not yet. Amina stood on the edge of a platform above Earth. Behind her, the Ark glowed. Beside her, Lena and Carter waited in silence. She held the seed in her hand. It was no longer just a tool. It had changed, grown. It pulsed with power. In memory, she looked out at the stars and spoke softly. We were gods once. We forgot. The returning humans, the lost colonies, had built a great meeting place above Earth. It was called the Circle, made from living metal and clear stone. It floated like a halo around the planet. Inside it, the final council began. Leaders from far stars. Scientists from old worlds, repaired Eternals, and Earth's last children. Amina walked to the center of the circle. Her voice was quiet but strong. We created gods, she said. But then we ran from them. The room was silent. She continued. We thought we were too dangerous, too proud, too powerful. So we erased ourselves. But we forgot one thing. She looked up. We forgot that we were trying to protect life, not destroy it. Lena stepped forward. She showed the council a map. It showed not just the Milky Way, but other galaxies. Places never visited. We once reached those stars, she said. The Makers had maps of hundreds of other galaxies. They were searching for something. Carter added, or running from something. The archive revealed the final truth. The waking dark was not alone. It was one piece of something older, a broken piece. There were others still, sleeping, still waiting, and the stars had begun to change. Some had gone dark too fast. Some showed signs of infection, light turning into shadow, thoughts becoming noise. The silence was not just peace. It was warning. Amina placed the seed into a device in the center of the circle. It lit up. The room filled with light. Everyone saw it. Not just a map, but a plan. A path forward. One that would not repeat. The past? War is not the answer, Amina said. But forgetting is not the answer either. She looked at the Eternals. You were made to protect. Some nodded. You forgot. And you were used. Others bowed their heads. But now you are free. She turned to the humans from distant worlds. You hid, you waited, you feared us. They stood still. But now you return, and you remember. Then she turned to Earth. You were broken, buried, silent. But now you are alive again. One by one, the lights on the map began to pulse. Colonies waking up, fleets returning, Eternals joining the new cause. The seed had started a change, not just in machines, but in minds, in belief. A new program was born, not to control the stars, not to rule, but to connect, to warn, to watch the Echo Network, a living web across galaxies. It would listen to every signal, share every memory, and protect life. All life from the things that hide in shadow. But there was one last message, one last secret. The archive opened one final door. Inside was a memory, the first one. A planet of light. A city with towers made of crystal and fire. Humans pure. An ancient walking among stars. They did not fly in ships. They were the ships. Their thoughts moved planets. Their words created stars. They were not called humans then. They were the origin, and they made life not just on Earth, but everywhere. They were the gods. Of gods, the memory faded. Alina's voice trembled. We were not just the first humans. We were the first minds, Carter whispered. The Eternals, the colonies, the enemy, all of it started with us. Amina nodded. We forgot who we were. And that made us afraid. But now we remember. Outside the circle, the stars began to shift. The seed, now part of the network, pulsed again. It had one final function. It sent out a signal not to warn, but to welcome. To remind the galaxy of its beginning, not with fear, but with hope. Amina stood at the edge of space, the sky endless in front of her. She smiled. She was not just the echo. She was the new voice. And as she closed her eyes, she said one last thing. We were gods once, but this time will be something better.